Alright friends, our next belt is the green belt, and for this one you have to play through number 86, Ode to Joy, correctly. There's a lot of things going on in this song. So if you remember, we broke it up into a couple different sections to help us out with that. So let's go ahead and start with the first section. The hard thing about this section is, of course, going from first position to third position and back. So we get to use a lot more shifting than we've kind of been doing before this. So make sure to have your good bass posture. It'll be especially important to have your bass balanced when we slide your hand up. So even before we play, if you want to make sure, tap your thumb on the back on the sticky. You can tap your fingers on the string, and don't even press down, but just rest them lightly, and then just gently slide your fingers up and down the string. Your thumb should be sliding along with the rest of your hand. So be careful. Sometimes on the bass, we like to leave your thumb back there and slide our fingers only. That's not going to be very good. So slide your whole hand. Remember to imagine you're holding a can of pop as you slide your entire hand. Here, I'll turn it to the side so you can see. Up and down the bass. You can watch your fingers to kind of double check that you stay on the tapes as well. And I'm not even pressing into the strings, just lightly gliding them over the strings. When you shift, we don't want to press down. That would really be uncomfortable for your fingers. So when you shift, lift your fingers up and slide, and then you can press your fingers down again. All right, let's see. So let's go ahead and practice number 86. And I'm just going to practice even just the first measure to practice that shift. So starting with 4 fingers down, ready, go. F sharp, F sharp. Now if you want to pause and get set up first, slide your hand. First finger's ready, go. 1, 4. So you can go ahead and stop and get your hand ready before you go on, but eventually we want it to be like this, without any pause. Ready, go. F sharp, G, A. So eventually we want no pause, but practice it with the pause because that'll help. And then eventually we want to put the first and second measures together, but right now I'm just going to start in the second measure. So in the second measure we're starting on A in third position, so 4 fingers, A, G, and then we're going to have to shift back to first, F sharp, E. So remember you can put that pause in there at first, so let's try it. Second measure, starting on 4th finger A in third position. Ready, go. A, G, shift back. Make sure that 4th finger's resting on the string. Ready, go. F sharp, E. Now I'm going to play it without any breaks. So second measure, no breaks. Ready, go. A, G, shift, F sharp, E. So even though I said shift, my tempo was steady as I moved my hand back. Then after that, you want to put the first and second measures together. Once you got this, you'll be pretty good to go. So let's try the first section, just the first 2 measures. Starting on 4th finger, F sharp, in first position. Ready, play. F sharp, shift, G, A, G, shift back, F sharp, E, and then we're in first position, kind of home free. So then I'm going to go ahead and the rest of that section is pretty easy. You can figure it out on your own. So I would practice that. If you noticed I was playing pizzicato, definitely practice it pizzicato, and then try and add the bow a little bit later. So right now I'm just going to play the first section for you with the bow. So make sure you have your beautiful bow hold. Fingers are resting, middle fingers are across from your thumb. Your arm is relaxed, your shoulders relaxed. You can bend your knees a little bit and make sure you move even as you balance the bass. So starting, make sure to wiggle the string, start on the tape, and be ready to have that nice bass tone. So here's number 86 from the beginning, just the first section. Ready, play. F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, D, D, E, F sharp, E. Good, and the one thing I forgot to mention, remember those hollow notes are our hollow half notes. So they get half of our measure, or 2 beats each. So if this is my quarter notes, bum, 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 bum. Remember our half notes get 2 of those. So F sharp, F sharp, E. So I clapped twice for each of those. Now, the second section is going to be pretty similar. So I'm going to jump to the third section. So our third section uses half notes, which are slow and long. It uses quarter notes, our normal steady beat. And it also uses eighth notes, which are twice as fast as our quarter notes. So remember, our eighth notes get 1/2 of a beat because they're twice as fast. So if this is my quarter note, ta, ta, my eighth notes are TTs. T, 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 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So hopefully you can see how 2 of them fit in there. So the first thing I'd practice in this is those eighth notes because they're fast, they're kind of tricky. This section, we get to stay in first position, so that helps. So just practice those eighth notes. We have F sharp and G, F sharp, G, and I would make a tunnel. So make sure the G string can run behind your fingers without sounding muted, and you don't have to take your 4 fingers off the string at all. So F sharp, G, F sharp, G. I would practice that a lot on your own, and then see if you can do it faster. And then eventually we want to put add in that quarter note after. So we're going to go F, G, F, F, G, F. And then eventually we want that to be faster too. Bum, 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 bum. So practice until you get it a little faster, but make sure it's still clean even when it's faster. Then we want to put that whole measure together. So we're starting on first finger E, E, F, G, F, and then open D. E, F, G, F, D, and just try just that measure on its own until you can get it faster without making mistakes. So it'll take a little practice, but you can do it. If you look at the measure right after, it changes slightly. So the first part of the measure is the same, E, F, G, F, but then we go to E. E, so instead of open D, E, F, G, F, E. So you might want to practice that just the same way, where you practice F, G, then F, G, F, then E, F, G, F, and then finally add in that first finger E, E, F, G, F, E. Once you have both those measures down, it'll be a lot easier for you to play this song. So let's start in our third section of the song, which is the hardest part. So count 1, 2, third section. It's a hollow half note starting on E. Ready, play. E, F sharp, D, E, F, G, F, open D, E, F, G, F, first finger E, D, E, first finger A. And that's the end of that section. So I would practice those sections over and over until you can't get them wrong. So once you have all the sections really, really well, then you can try putting them together. And you can also try practicing each section on its own with the bow. But eventually, once you know each section on its own with the bow, we want to put all those sections together with the bow. So it sounds like a lot right now, but if you practice it just in small phases, maybe the first day you practice only the first section. The second day you practice the second section. The third day, the third section. If you work on it in small chunks, eventually we'll get there, even if it takes a few lessons. So here is Ode to Joy. Ready, play. F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, D, D, E, F sharp, E, F sharp, G, A, G, F sharp, E, D, D, E, F sharp, E, D, E, Joy. Make sure to practice it in small sections, and we'll get there. Happy practicing!